we are going to meet Marie Harris, who was the new Hampshire Poet Laureate Emerita from 1999 to 2004. I guess they have a long term in New Hampshire. She's the author of 5 books of poetry, the most recent of which is called Desire Lines. She's also an editor and children's book author. During her tenure as New Hampshire Poet Laureate, she co-produced the first ever Conference of State Poets Laureate. She is also a member of one of the country's first women-centered poetry cooperatives called Alice James Books, which is celebrating more than 40 years of publishing. And she was a recipient of the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts Fellowship and a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship. She has also served as a visiting writer at the Vermont Studio Center and now lives in the mountains of North Carolina, where I'm sure it's cooler than it is in Virginia right now. So, no, it's warm. Okay, well, Marie, we are really looking forward to both seeing and hearing you, some of us for the first time. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, Kathleen, thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks to Carolyn Kreiter-Foronda for suggesting that I can participate amongst these wonderful writers. It's been an extraordinary evening so far. When I was Poet Laureate, I was asked on a number of occasions to write occasional poems. And I think about Andrew Motion, the Poet Laureate of Great Britain, who basically said that having to write occasional poems practically stopped him from ever writing again. I tried with these various commissions to respond and at the same time write poems that actually might have outlived the occasion. And I'm hoping that the couple that I'll read tonight did that to some extent. The first one is called Sunapee Mandala, and it was written in collaboration with Emil Birch, the sculptor. And it was the first poem, only poem I've ever had to write to engineering specifications, because the sculpture was so wide and so tall, and the letters were so big, and therefore I had to write a poem to fit that. And it was on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of Sunapee State Park in New Hampshire, and it was supposed to encompass everything that a state park represents to the public. And this is my stab at it, Sunapee Mandala. Leave your shadow here on the long memory of rock, that you may number among the friends of the planet. We are one in summer woods, overflowing with wings, in the fires kindled by orange lily, struck against fern flint. One with the music of wind, played on icy birch bones, and the promised pollen spells across the watery mirrors of our future. The next one was written on the occasion of the inauguration of the third term of New Hampshire's first female governor, Jean Shaheen, and it was a huge pleasure to compose a poem on that occasion. And this is what I wrote. As you know, those inaugurals happen in the earliest part of January, and so the weather is still New Hampshire winter. January thaw. The meager light is charged with southern warmth that tempts the buds on the brittle branch, and softens pond ice, releasing a hint of a scent of spring. This seditious weather undermines winter's dictatorship, its puppet government of cold, its dark decrees. A turn in the wind carries the news. There is nothing cast in stone or ice or precedent that cannot be chiseled, molded, or changed. In such a climate, hope and opportunity abound. Fresh purpose will emerge as surely as snowdrops elbowing the frozen ground. The second inaugural poem that I was asked to write was the inauguration of a governor whose views could not have been further from my own. And I struggled with it because I struggled with it. And yet I think I came up with a poem that I really liked almost better than the one I wrote for Governor Shaheen. It's called New Year, New Hampshire, and it starts with a quote from John Adams that says, "How few have ever had anything more of a choice in government than in climate." The hunger moon draws icy tides upriver, heaving gray-green slabs of seawater onto the salt marshes. Inland, a house rides snow swells into evening, while inside, the householder, satisfied in the knowledge of a well-provisioned root cellar, a woodshed stacked with even cords, pulls the shutters to, turns from the darkening window. And still, quarrelsome winds bay down the chimney. The urge to retreat to hearth and leather-bound studies of certainty is as strong as the pull of the moon. But there are times when what we really need most are the rude and raucous disputations that sputter and spark like bonfires on frozen ponds, attracting a quorum of neighbors. I don't think he was listening, actually, but I tried. This was also commissioned, and again, a part of a sculpture project that had to do with the theme of stones. And the sculpture projects, all of the ones were displayed on the streets and street corners of Rochester, New Hampshire, and poets and visual artists interpreted that notion of stones in many different ways. This sculpture was a plexiglass tower filled with stones, and this is the poem that went with it. Stones, a history. Glacier, retreating. Notches, clawed. Low coastal hills. Beating sea, glacial till. Island tied by cobbles and sand, Tombolo. New land, dawnland, rising. Above high water, hot summer stones for Abenaki to dry fish, striated stones under the boots of tall ship sailors, flattened stones for skipping. Among stones, purple mussel wampum shell, sea glass, rum and medicine and Coke bottles, old car blinkers, twists of polypropylene, plastic bags like beached jellyfish. And the sea encroaches, and the stones tumble, and the dawnland erodes. And my last two poems are love poems. I tried over the years, living with the love of my life, my husband, I have tried every February to write a Valentine. And most of the time that's very difficult, not because it's difficult to express my love and affection, but because it's really hard to write a Valentine when you're looking out the window onto a February New Hampshire landscape. So this one, the first one I'll read, is called Phosphorescent Valentine, Hold for February Delivery, which I made in August on a boat out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Well, not in the middle, actually, when we dropped anchor. Phosphorescent Valentine, Hold for February Delivery. We have dropped the anchor and it holds on a mud and sand bottom in a cove ringed with shell beach and pine groves, stands of roses, hips, orange rose, a swamp of cattails, sibilant and dozy in the evening, dying breeze. Later, under a sky deepened by stars, you laugh the way you've told me the Japanese laugh when circumstance bewilders, and calls me aft to watch as you pour the dishwater over. Look, you say, as you spill our dinner's litter. Come look, my love, at the glitter. And finally, the title poem from my recent book called Desire Lines. Desire lines are what you all know already, have experienced when you walk in a park or you walk on a university campus. There are all these well laid out paths, and yet people have decided that point A to point B would be better served by walking this way. And by doing that, they make new paths, which are desire lines. They represent, quote, the shortest or most easily navigated route between an origin and a destination. Desire lines. That March night, when I came here from everywhere I'd been, the snow was troweled thick as plaster on the dark boughs and branches. A single footpath, skirting bog and boulder, worn to roots by a single man walking, led me to the house, its single room. So much has changed since then, but the piney aisle that first described my way home remains the shortcut from love's beginning to death's warm and reassuring anteroom. The path is visible even on moonless nights, limned by a tree-lined emptiness above me in the sky. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Marie. Again, it's really wonderful to see you. Do check out, yeah, everyone's clapping. You might check out the chat box too. I don't have time to post in that, but Latorial has some beautiful comments as well. We're so happy you could join us, and I can't say thank you enough. So thank you again.